Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really happy to start the week with you. It was kind of a quiet weekend for me, so I feel very energized and recharged. I don't know if anybody else is falling victim to the respiratory thing that is going around that is not COVID or the flu, but feels like both. I hope you do not, but anybody who is in need of a little bit of extra time this week, please take it and put your health first as we're transitioning between seasons. This morning, I'm really excited to be joined by Jodi Segal and Hannah Tyler. Our conversation today actually kind of came out of the blue because Jodi's presented on the Calls for Community Solutions before, and I subscribed to Big Change Consulting email updates and received a email like 4-part course on a couple of different things that Big Change Consulting provides, and thought it was really innovative as a way to keep people engaged. And so there's a couple of things that we'll be covering today, obviously leading into Jodi and Hannah's expertise and tactics, behind the call. But this is going to be a couple of different topics bundled up into one this morning, as I'm sure you saw in our reminder email this morning. For anybody who has not joined these calls for community solutions in the past, they started in March of 2020 as an opportunity to share point-in-time feedback and emergent information and news related to the COVID-19 pandemic, because that was a time of lurch for all of us. And as we've continued to survey folks on a weekly basis, asking if these are still, helpful to have and convene at each week, the answer is overwhelmingly yes. And so it's become a place to provide space for community members to convene, drive conversation and connection, and really start your week off thinking outside the box in many cases, and get away from your necessarily immediate mission work and think about how you can do things differently or partner differently, or just see another side to the nonprofit sector or cross-sector engagement as well. So as I shared, we do host these weekly. The two frameworks that we work within are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and the social determinants of health. The UN SDGs give us very tactical, shared KPIs across the nonprofit sector. So when we're looking at quality education, not only as a broad, nebulous, overarching goal that we write about to please funders, but how we are actually aligning that work together and agreeing on the same standards of excellence or steps to get there is extremely important. And there are multiple cities, including Pittsburgh, that have adopted the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals of metrics for success for multiple administrations. For the social determinants of health, it's a little bit of a quicker lift in terms of how the work of an organization might immediately fit into one of the 5 known determinants. And there are differences in this model as well. So, you'll see some different terminology depending on, what determinants of health you're looking at. There are some mental wellness pieces that have been brought in. But overwhelmingly, when we're looking at the nonprofit sector, particularly economic stability, social community contacts, neighborhood and built environment, really link to the majority of the causes that we support in the work that we do. And so if we think of these two frameworks as the how behind or the what behind the work, what we're doing, what we're trying to achieve, the 8 returns is a model of the Forbes funds that very quickly has become the how. So when we're talking about success for neighborhood and built environment, is it a return on equity and principles and practices that have really moved the needle for success? Is it a return on policy? I'll be speaking in a little bit about our upcoming Public Policy Committee meeting this Thursday from 1 to 2:30 p.m. for GPNP. There's a lot of work that goes into policy change, including individual organization advocacy, which is kind of our role in this. And so when we're talking about really changing social and community context or climate action, was the thing that really moved the needle and made the difference a change in policy or how we approach policy. So for this morning's conversation, we're going to be looking at a couple of things. On the left side of the screen, you'll see the headshots of our 2 wonderful speakers this morning. And basically, this is a topic of using email courses to advance your mission, a case study featuring Big Change Consulting's nonprofit retirement course. So this conversation is really timely because as the Forbes Funds has really been working to understand, entrepreneurial operating systems, the 6th pivot, and how we can encourage other organizations to adopt different ways of thinking, in terms of nonprofit operations, this email course was a really interesting approach to engagement that I really appreciate from Jodi and Hannah. And so looking at this, yes, way of engaging folks, but also sharing education and learning as a new model of working, as we are so inundated with like email or social media and all of these different places we have to look. It was very much a like bite size, I can commit to doing this, 4 times to get better in this one area, that I found really refreshing, honestly. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jodi first, since I know you are screen sharing this morning. Thank you so much for joining us, both of you, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. We love working with nonprofits in Pittsburgh, enjoyed the conference that you put on last year. Both Hannah and I attended, and we've worked with several different organizations in Pittsburgh. The Kingsley Association is a very frequent partner, in addition to other groups like Association for Police Accountability and I'm slipping my mind. I'll come back with it later. It's another organization I work with very closely, and
Kelly
it's just a
Strayhorn,
Monday morning. Kelly Strayhorn,
the
thank you very
theater.
much.
Yeah,
The
you're welcome.
theater, thank you. I was having, the Mondays. So Big Change Consulting, we are a firm that helps nonprofits start up, gear up, and clean up their operations, HR, and their fundraising. So we have really deep expertise in organizational management. We collaborate with different organizations, we collaborate with different partners to ensure that you get the best possible advising that you can get, and really focus on building a strong infrastructure for organizations so that you can take that stability and be able to replicate it and lean on it and focus on the mission work of your organization. And our goal really is just to be a trusted partner that can help you be smart, strategic, overcome your obstacles, and then teach your team to do this work effectively. So you can grow and be bigger and stronger. We do this through providing consulting, trainings, and referrals to vetted services. And we're small, so we can right size everything for organizations. And just excited to be here with you today. Hannah.
And hi, everyone. I'm Hannah Tyler, principal and founder of Tyler Tactics Consulting. I really just kind of boil down the work that we do is helping organizations hone effective strategies and tell powerful stories. And Jodi, you can go to the next slide. She's controlling our slides, so you're going to hear me say that a lot. I believe that having worked in the nonprofit sector for over 15 years, that a lot of times what holds back really incredible causes, really effective, thoughtful missions is that if no one knows or cares about what you're up to, it's very hard to drive the impact that you want to see in the world. So I've kind of tailored all of the work that I currently offer the organizations I work for solutions to those types of challenges. So that includes strategic planning, social impact marketing and market research, stakeholder engagement process, advocacy-specific communications and cause-based communication strategies, and messaging and narrative work. And today, Jodi and I are going to talk about just a partnership our two firms took on together to help promote this really incredible program that she's launched through her firm. And so we'll walk you through kind of the thought process behind that, how we arrived on this as a strategy, and then I'll follow up at the end with some examples of how nonprofits can use this approach in your own work.
Great, thanks, Hannah. Yeah, and so the opportunity that we were looking to address is we at Big Change launched new retirement plan offerings that are curated for nonprofit organizations. And so I knew it was a great program, great offerings, and it was just a matter of getting in front of folks. So I wanted to get it in these choices in front of the existing networks that we had. I wanted to utilize a MailChimp that I had sitting dormant for years. I've been paying for it for 4 years and have barely used it at all, but knew it was important to be building that list over time. I wanted an evergreen educational tool that we can just have people automatically get into. So nonprofit retirement benefits, simple IRAs, 401ks, most organizations are looking at it in the fall, but it can kind of come up at any time. And so folks could tap into it without me having to generate a lot of new content, find the information, share with them directly. And then we also wanted to drive enrollment into the program. So ultimately, we want folks to understand what their options are for retirement, offer retirement plans if they can at all afford it, and then take advantage of these right priced, low cost, high touch opportunities. And everything in the strategy should be leading towards, driving enrollment. So the challenges that we faced were that retirement plans are confusing. I was confused by them, which is the big reason why I found this partner at Morgan Stanley to work with. There are a lot of barriers to entry. It's expensive. You have to get approvals along the way. You have to understand your choices. You have to understand the expenses, et cetera. It takes a long time to get enrolled in these programs. It can take months to get a 401k like up and running, educate your staff, make it offer. And then end of year is really busy for organizations, are raising money, et cetera, thinking about open enrollment for health insurance. So you had to really balance out what that timing was. The email list was very dormant, hadn't used it for much of anything. And then there are lots of places that you can go to for retirement. So wanted to really demonstrate why this was a special opportunity for nonprofits specifically, and that the cost is really good. It's high touch, all of that kind of stuff. So the assets that we brought to the table were that we've built a really large network on LinkedIn for a business with 2 employees. It's quite large to have 1,700 followers on LinkedIn. So wanted to take advantage of that. Had the infrastructure by email, and had a decent list, not huge at all, but it was there. Again, the offering was really good. And then this is a benefit that a lot of employees want. And so employers need to be thinking about that as they're looking to recruit and retain top talent. Nonprofit organizations struggle to offer the kinds of salaries that we want, and so that employees want. And so benefits are a place that it's really critical for employers to offer so that they can recruit and hold on to the staff that they want to keep.
All right, so I'm going to walk through a little bit more of the specifics, kind of behind to set it up, why an email course, and other things that I think would be useful for you all as you consider whether this might be a tactic that benefits your work. So in order to kind of assess, do I have something that I could build an email course around? And I would argue that the answer is typically yes. You want to have a clear topic. So there's something you really want to educate or engage people around. And it helps if it tends to be something that people don't understand, have trouble finding resources to navigate, or are overwhelmed by. And that kind of maps back directly to that challenge Jodi named of there being great barriers to entry. I'm confused by retirement stuff. I'm still trying to figure out my own thing, right? So I know a lot of people have questions, especially people that are trying to figure out how to administer something like this for their staff and their team. You want to have the ability to break the topic into several smaller segments. So we're going to invite you all to subscribe to the email course at the end of this, but I will just kind of break down how we did that with this retirement program. A strong welcome email that people get immediately upon enrolling so that they know that whatever they had to do to be in the course is taken care of. They're going to start to receive those emails in their inbox. Our first email is about the retention crisis, so kind of teeing up some of the problems that retirement plans can help organizations overcome. We go through retirement options basics. So this is like comparing a 401k versus a 403b versus all the things I actually don't know what I'm talking about. So the terms that people are trying to understand. And that specific piece was informed by a scan of what people are searching for on Google when it comes to retirement planning. So we knew that some of the most highly sought after search terms were people just trying to understand the basic differences between plans, and we built an entire module around that piece. We also go through the demand for this among employees using like data and resources to back that up. And then finally, we provide a quick start guide for folks that are thinking about how to do this in their organization, and sort of broke the emails down in a way that they could be easily forwarded to stakeholders as an organization if you have to make the case internally for why this should happen with board members, executive leadership, other people within the organization. You need an email marketing platform. So there is an automation piece for this that makes it something that you can truly set up and sort of let it take on a life of its own. And I'm happy to, maybe answer questions about how that works later. Some kind of existing network. This is really a tool to deepen engagement. It can be a recruitment tool or a way to get people to sign up for your email list, but it tends to have the biggest bang for the buck if you already have a decent sized network that you're looking to just kind of reach in new ways, either on LinkedIn, your email list, or other places where you can stay in touch with people. And then lastly, a compelling offer or a call to action. So you don't just do the course for the sake of sharing information. You can, but a really excellent email course would also kind of offer ways for people to kind of take the next step. And in the case of Jodi's, what we were doing for Jodi's work, that was to encourage them to reach out to her and discuss enrollment in the new retirement plan. So reasons why this is an effective tactic. You can go at your own pace. We got a lot of feedback from people, and I think Emily even kind of shared this of, it's hard to commit to show up to even a webinar sometimes, especially in certain times of the year. So to know that you're just going to get valuable information at your own pace that you can kind of look at as you need to, it's going to have resources, is very accessible. At the same time, an email course implies that you're offering like high quality expertise. So it's not just, normal email marketing. This is really with the purpose of education and helping you learn more about something that you may feel not as knowledgeable about or not equipped with the right information. Completing a course also just feels official. So it's something that kind of oddly, I think a lot of times in the world of email marketing right now, the idea is like, make it as short as possible, make it, something that people will skim. And the email course approach is actually like trying to bring people in with digestible information, but that is a little bit longer form for folks that are like really raising their hand to say, I'm trying to understand more about this topic. You can streamline. So when we're talking about like EOS or like how are we kind of streamlining processes and understanding things within organizations, this is one way that you can really kind of, if you have a training program or volunteer engagement, like you can put together a course to help kind of orient people. However, of course, this doesn't replace the importance of two-way communication and hands-on training with people as well. And then it also gives you the opportunity to promote multiple programs and offers and giving opportunities in the context of a nonprofit. Next slide. So I have 3 slides here that are really just kind of examples. I feel like sometimes things like this are more understandable if you can just see how they could be applied in the real world. So this first one is more geared towards maybe organizations that do direct service work and are looking for to provide job search strategies and trainings. And so you could, instead of, this is a new way to sort of engage people that you're trying to reach with the incredible programs and services that you offer. This can boost program participation by positioning the nonprofit as a valuable resource. And it encourages recipients, the call to action could be like, okay, great, you've had this like 5-part email course on job search strategies and training. Also, we have workshops and one-on-one coaching available, and you can end the course offering by encouraging people to enroll in those options. And there's all kinds of ways that you can, leverage that for different types of programs. Next slide. This is more geared towards maybe a donor audience. And so the example here is that a food bank could run an email course on understanding hunger in our community, give like a deep dive and, kind of status of where the community is at, reasons for this. And then along the way, you could also share stories of people that the food bank has supported and helped, and end the series or offer throughout the series opportunities for your donors and supporters to expand their investment in that work. Next slide. And then lastly, and I think I actually skipped one slide because this should be number 3, I think, but a volunteer training. No, Jodi, I skipped it in the slide deck. It won't show up now. But volunteer training and engagement series. So you can see here, this would be how to onboard new volunteers within an organization that builds homes or supports transitional housing services. The benefit to something like this is that you can kind of give volunteers immediate, digestible, flexible way to engage, almost like a onboarding package for folks, and then include interactive components to keep them engaged. Again, likely leading up to, here are opportunities to actually volunteer your time in the next, quarter or year, whatever it might be. So these are just 3, you can use these email courses in so many different ways. These are just a few examples of kind of how I could envision this happening with a variety of different nonprofits. I've worked with folks who are more in the advocacy space, who've done testimony giving and development training 101 through email courses after having really low attendance to webinars or Zoom meetings that are trying to do the same thing, where they had great enrollment in the program like that. And yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, so we're here to answer questions for folks. Did we have the link to enroll in the course, Hannah?
Yeah.
We'll have to pop that into the chat somewhere. Okay, great.
I'll drop that in right now.
Awesome, thank you. So do folks have questions about why, how, what we did, or how it applies to you?
I am always able to jump in with a question. But again, I think this is brilliant. And Christine, who's the project coordinator for GPNP, we were actually just messaging in Teams oh my gosh, this would be great for donors, or segmenting different elements of the GPNP audience. Because I'll be the first to admit that our newsletter that goes out every Friday is a lot of information. And so trying to package this for specific groups is just wonderful. And I also think, if you wouldn't mind going back to the slide that has the checklist, or not really a checklist, but here's some things that you could consider. Yes, the components. I put this in the chat. There are so many things that nonprofit practitioners specifically are just experts at, and we don't think about it as a skill set. And especially as we're thinking more about EOS, what are some of the things that even just day-to-day work in terms of delivery of service, or how we've adopted equity principles into our organization, that could, be components of a really effective email course for an audience to just better understand what we do. I'm just wondering if there's kind of if that's ever been adopted as as a storytelling method in addition to the educational piece.
Yeah, I think it would be great to hear from others potentially who kind of this might be sparking ideas around how they could use it. I think it's a great way to use more as a storytelling. If you have a mission that encompasses a lot of different things, like the social determinants of health, and you don't always get an opportunity to explain how those pieces connect in real life or how they fit together, even just doing a deep dive even on what that means, that framework, while connecting it to specific stories of either nonprofits that do that work really well or individuals that have been benefited, can be an awesome way to sort of package your work in a new, maybe make people think of it in a new light.
Thank you, Hannah. And I'm wondering if anyone else has any kind of ideas sparking or different topics that are maybe unique to their organization, as a interest in, or having interest in packaging that as an email course. I think this is just incredibly innovative. And we have a ton of curriculums at the Forbes Funds. So this is definitely sparking some ideas for me too, for GPNP.
I'm curious to know, Sorry if this was mentioned, but have you always used this as something that was just a free resource, or have you ever thought about applying a fee to something like this?
For the retirement plan specifically, or to
Oh,
take the email course?
sorry, for the email courses. Yeah.
So I'll jump in really quickly, Jodi, just like to, take a step back on this tactic, which I didn't invent, but I am using it in the nonprofit context in a way that is new. A lot of small businesses and sort of people in the for-profit space have started to monetize email courses as a revenue stream. I don't think there's any reason why, especially nonprofits that are exploring new business models, like why there couldn't be a similar approach. Certainly a number of people have monetized email courses. So it can be great to offer as a free resource. It also, especially if you spend a lot of time developing something that is highly sought after, nonprofits are experts. I agree 100% with Emily that a lot of times we don't think of ourselves that way. There's no reason why this couldn't be applied in that context as well. And certainly many people do already.
Thank you.
And so I have toyed with the idea of doing asynchronous trainings for a fee, because we've probably done 50 trainings over the last 4 years. The feedback that we've gotten from them is outstanding. The tools and templates that we've gotten great feedback around that. And people are just really happy with it. And so if we can do one of the opportunities that we were talking about at the beginning of this call, to get that content out to a larger audience and do it in a way that is, set it and forget it a little bit. Of course, the marketing still has to continue, is very time consuming and expensive. And so we're worried that by building out a whole platform and figuring out how to monetize it and the promotion, like, I think it's going to be $100,000 in order to get all of that up and going as a major offering that we have, even though we have the content and could easily record it. I think it's going to be extremely expensive. So we'll probably offer kind of one-off opportunities where we record something, and maybe we do it for the retirement plans because we're promoting this whole program. So maybe we do have something like that, but we've got to really think about what your goal is. And so for a mission-based nonprofit organization, unless you're an educational resource that does fee for service on an ongoing basis, I might think about it more as an engagement tool. Even as a for-profit business, I'm really hesitant to try to launch into this as asynchronous.
That's extremely helpful and honest. That's a big challenge that I've heard about this from a lot of nonprofits, where even when there is a new tool or new way of working, it's difficult to adopt or adapt sometimes. So yes, that's extremely real, and I appreciate your focus on needing to focus on a clear topic where you are an expert, or you have a call to action, or you have the content. And I'm curious if there's no other questions for Hannah about the email course, concept or the process of developing that. I'm wondering, Jodi, if you wouldn't be able to provide some of the a snapshot of the 401k 403b course, since you are an expert on the retirement planning piece, so we can get kind of a twofer on the community call this morning.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna try to take this off the full screen and move. Come on.
And thank you
Does
so
not want
much,
to go.
Hannah, for joining us this morning to go through the email course. I am very excited to share this recording with folks.
Thank you all so
Right,
much. It was great to be here. Take care.
I am going to exit the full screen. Just give me 1 second to try to get this up here. Great. Okay. Zoom did not want to let me switch the files. So the idea here was that we help organizations with all manner of HR, infrastructure, all of those operational things. And I get asked about retirement. I know about simple IRAs, very easy to create, implement, manage. It's either 2% for all employees or a 3% match. And then the employee has to set up their own account and the employer funds the account. So we can talk through with organizations if that's the right plan, help them find a place to do it, all of that kind of stuff. Very easy. But when organizations were asking me about 401ks and 403bs, I didn't have that expertise. And then as my business incorporated as went from an LLC to an S Corp, I hired another employee besides myself. I needed to think about what that retirement looked like as well. And it was very confusing. So after a lot of digging, I found a partner at Morgan Stanley who has been a board chair, thinks about his work through an equity lens, has been looking for years to develop offerings for nonprofits that aren't too expensive, because when I had looked at 401ks when I was an operations director, it was thousands of dollars to get going, thousands of dollars per year. It wasn't reasonable for us to do it for the benefit of only a couple of staff when the simple IRA worked well for us. So we finally found these options, put together a plan that's very curated, and we can walk folks through what their options are and help them all the way through. So I have expertise as a nonprofit manager, operations director, and he is a retirement specialist at Morgan Stanley, investment advisor. So between us, we have a lot of expertise. So here is the flyer that we put together around the retirement plans. And 401ks and 403bs are very, very similar. So we're just putting it all together, and the retirement expert can help tease out if you want to think about one versus the other, but the basics are the same. So for a new nonprofit organization, you get an investment advisor. This is something that is not offered anywhere else. Like if you go through Gusto, there are retirement offerings. They may be competitively priced. That's the only place I've seen anything competitive in pricing, but you don't get the advisor with you. You just get kind of thrown into the system and you get to figure it out on your own and make sure what you're doing makes sense for you. And then it's got all of the other things that you would expect from a retirement plan, auto enrollment, et cetera, et cetera. So this lays out, what the requirements are. Fee wise, it's price locked for 3 years. It's $750 to start up. So that's the largest fee. And then the employer pays $80 a month and the employee pays $6 a month. And that's it. If you are an organization that already has a plan and you need to convert it, it's all the same stuff. Or you are like a business that wants to have profit sharing and some of the other more complex options, it's all the same, but it's an extra $30 a month for the employer. And that's basically it. So that is put into the chat. You can download this flyer. It's also on our website. And I'm happy to take questions or talk more about what this looks like or how we can help you with that.
Does anyone have any questions for Jodi? I didn't see anything come through the chat or the Q&A feature, so I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. One of the questions I know that comes up every time retirement planning is discussed is the time and kind of like background commitment for the executive director or founder or like decision maker within a nonprofit organization, especially for nonprofit with small staffs or a small number of staff. So I'm wondering, is this based on anyone from like a 2 to 3 person staff to like a 40 person, larger nonprofit that can benefit from this training?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so, a lot of times very small nonprofits would set up a simple IRA, and it has no administration on the technical record keeping side. Of course, you got to deal with payroll. But if you're looking to have higher contribution limits, you want to have a vesting schedule, you want to have, all these, bigger bells and whistles, then any organization can do this. We actually have a version of this flyer for for-profit businesses because they can't take advantage of the 403bs, but for-profits can get a tax break and, it's just slightly different. But any employer can do this at all. And if there are organizations that have just one employee There are other options not on this flyer. So these are just like the most common. Let's boil it down. Let's make it simple for organizations. But we can help with any of the versions for any size of employer or individual person as well. So one of the things I think is really great of working with this retirement expert is if you set up a 401k or 403b for your organization, every one of your employees has access to that retirement expert. And so they can ask, hey, I'm 27 years old. How much should I be saving? Or I'm thinking of, I'm getting some money from a family member who died. I'm not sure what to do with it. How do you advise I set that up? So he can help with all of that. It's a very nice value add for small employers.
Oh, 100%. I appreciate that. And just want to reiterate, like everybody's situation is different, even if you have the same technical like retirement plan bucket. Life looks different for every level of staff based on who is in that seat. So having somebody who can offer advice, not just on kind of like the boilerplate, here's what my organization offers and what I pay into on a monthly basis, but also kind of like life experience and how to navigate that is extremely helpful and wonderful that you provide that as well.
Yeah, in this plan, the employer must contribute, so that's a cost for you. The other option, they don't have to contribute. So there are different plan designs that this would cost $110 a month plus a $750 startup. So if an organization is looking to have their budget in different ways, so maybe you don't feel like you can offer the matching, but you want to have something, that's an option. Whereas the startup plan or a simple IRA, this IRA doesn't have a fee to administer, but you must contribute to the employees. So budget wise, it has a bigger impact. And you can start in one place and go to another. That's fine. You just can't offer both at the same time.
Any other questions for Jodi this morning?
Or for Hannah, she's still here. She's in Belize right now, so
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Hannah dropped
appreciate
off.
her. Okay, appreciated her taking vacation time to come and talk to everybody today.
Yeah, especially with a questionable Wi-Fi connection. Everything was extremely clear, and I'm very excited to share the recording for just showcasing the resources that both of you are providing. And I saw that Hannah added her email to the chat, and you did as well. Oh, Melody asked, "Is this a PDF available for download?" Would you mind sharing this in the chat?
Yes, I did. So if you scroll up a little
Oh,
bit, just a
perfect.
couple messages, you can see where I said, here's the nonprofit retirement program we're offering. Right below it is the PDF. And then it's also available on our website. And you can get it there. Oh, thank you. Great. Awesome. Yeah,
Any
and I'm
other
happy to answer questions. So feel free, if there's something you don't want to ask right now, or you want to schedule a little bit of time, then just feel free to reach out. I'm happy to talk to you. Or about any other nonprofit operations issues. So we assist with HR, finance, fundraising, strategic planning, all of the work that you do before or next to your mission delivery. Yeah. Oh, Ashley, hi. Glad to see you here. Great. Yeah, we've worked with a bunch of groups in Pittsburgh. I live in Columbus. He and I live in Columbus, so we're really close.
Oh, thank you so much, Ashley. If there are no other questions, I can jump to the public policy update and updates from the Forbes funds. But yes, if anyone has any, follow-ups, individual circumstance, specific to your organization or even your own retirement planning, please, please, please reach out to Jodi. She's presented in the past just about the different offerings of Big Change Consulting, and done, I think, a couple webinars as well for GPNP. And I just want to make sure that, if there's any sort of connection we can make through like the consultants directory or anything like that, that we send you her way. Thank you so much, Jodi, for joining us. All right, let me share my screen. There we go. All right, so the first item of business is GPNP Public Policy Committee meeting this Thursday from 1 to 2:30 p.m. And there's a bit.ly link that I can add to the chat as well if Bree didn't beat me to it. Oh, Christine did, dang. So for our Public Policy Committee meeting series, one of the things that we've talked about a lot this year is the fact that when we polled people at the summit, there were about 18 to 20% of respondents, and this is part of registration. So this is not the post-summit survey. That's about 10% of participants. This is everyone who attended the summit. Of the nonprofits who attended, about 18 to 20% of participants and attendees said that they have an advocacy focus or some sort of call to action around advocacy and policy awareness related to their work. My personal mission as director of GPNP is to increase that number, since we know from articles, I mean, as recently as July of this year, saying that nonprofits are advocating at a much lower rate than they were even 10 years ago, but especially 20 years ago. And with the political circumstances of our current climate, it's extremely important again, and I will constantly beat this drum, that nonprofits are seen as experts on community needs. And so for individuals seeking services, there's a direct need there, but also in terms of elected officials who want to better understand needs of constituents, and making sure that members of the nonprofit community are aware of how you can advocate versus lobby and understand how to toe the line and make sure that you're educating versus lobbying. Is extremely important to make sure that we stay under the IRS guidelines, but also nonprofits can lobby to a certain extent, as long as you stay within 5 to 10% of your time and resource coordination dedicated towards an issue or cause. And so the focus for the Public Policy Committee meetings for the remainder of this year will be going through parts of the GPNP advocacy curriculum that we spearheaded last year. And so this will be kind of like a 2.0 of sorts. And it's really great timing because Jodi, you've got me thinking, or you and Hannah have me thinking now of doing kind of like an email series for GPNP members that want to build their advocacy capacity, but don't necessarily have the time to be able to come to the Public Policy Committee meetings and want to know where the on-roads are. For various issues or coalitions. And so the wheels are really spinning, but the main message is nonprofit organizations can and should be advocating for yourselves, but also the people you serve. And so that will be the focus of our meeting this Thursday. Thank you, Christine, for adding the registration link to the chat. It is via Zoom that these meetings take place, and I'm hoping as we get into Summit 2025, which is our 20th anniversary of GPNP, usually we do some meetups and legislative conversations. So more to come on what we can make possible at the end of this year, but especially for 2025 leading up to the summit. The other kind of announcement that I wanted to share as far as an ecosystem update today is that we have our date and time and location for our AI for Social Impact Demo Day 2.0. And so this is the second iteration of these 3 cohorts that we've gotten a lot of interest in, even after the start date for each of these cohorts. And so making sure that nonprofits again can access these types of resources and the learnings that we've been able to share, even if you can't commit to the 6-part series of a cohort. We'll be partnering with Adam and the Skill Builder team to offer half-day workshops on specific topics. And so one of those is like social media and marketing and how you can better tell your story, leveraging ChatGPT specifically. Another one that's a 3-hour workshop is data analysis and how you can use AI to analyze data while also taking into account things like privacy and security and ethical accountability for the technology that you're leveraging. And so these have been topics that have come up across the 3 different cohorts. So humanity-centered design being cohort 1, persuasion and influence being cohort 2, and hiring a digital assistant, which is an AI tool. Skill Builder IO provides the data analysis and marketing are things that come up across all three cohorts. And so having kind of like a half day skills focused course that's a point in time offering has emerged as a need from, hearing feedback from cohort participants. So October 23rd from 10:30 to 1:30 at Alloy 26, the auditorium and lounge at Nova Place. We'll have details in the newsletter this Friday. Please register as soon as possible so we can get a pretty solid count. The space accommodates up to 140 folks. I think for our first demo day, before the word was really out about this, we had 55 people register and ended up hosting 90 who showed up at Community Living and Support Services last time around. So we did go with a bigger space, but we're also expecting some more folks. So please register early on. Again, registration information will be available in our newsletter beginning this Friday. But October 23rd, 10:30 to 1:30 at Alloy 26 at Nova Place. And there's plenty of parking. More details on the registration page. But for this point in time trainings as well as the demo day, our main effort and goal of this is really to make sure that the nonprofit sector is not left behind with this technological advancement, and that we're leveraging AI ethically and accountably to better the lives of people we serve and make ourselves more efficient and effective in doing so. So thank you for joining us this morning. Christine, I know you have the inside scoop on our community call next week. If you wouldn't mind sharing just a quick second what we can expect from the Civically crew.
Yeah, absolutely. So next week we'll be joined by Marita Garrett with Civically. They are a civic engagement organization in Wilkinsburg, which happens to be my home neighborhood. So I'm super excited about that. We'll talk a little bit more about the importance of taking care of citizens and the whole human so that they can be civically engaged, and then a little bit more about civic engagement and some projects that they're working on in Wilkinsburg and the East End during this time. So we're very excited to have Marita as the previous mayor for Wilkinsburg. So she brings some political experience to her nonprofit role. So it'll be great perspective. So we look forward to having you.
Thank you, Christine. And you may hear some common threads between Public Policy Committee meeting next week or this Thursday. Again, looking for opportunities to better advocate and be civically engaged, and then a Monday community call that gives you immediate tools and opportunities to be able to jump in and do so, because we're really about walking the walk here. So you probably see a poll that recently launched on your screen. Please take a second to answer a couple of quick questions about strategic design and AI tools that we're always promoting and hoping to really help folks be comfortable within the nonprofit sector, but also the cadence and quality and the topics that we have for these Monday calls for community solutions. Thank you for joining us each week. I appreciate your time and attention always. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Emily@ForbesFunds.org. Save the chat if you need to refer to some of the links that were shared by Jodi and Hannah and the Forbes Funds team after the fact. Otherwise, you'll be able to see this recording on our YouTube channel and a quick recap in our newsletter this Friday. Thank you, everyone, and I hope you have a great week.
Bye, everyone.